that's me. That's my information if you want to get in touch with me. That bit.ly link will go to my blog on the OpenSource Connections website. And so today we're going to talk about test-driven relevancy and how that's really, for us, forming sort of a bedrock of how our relevancy tuning strategy, how we approach client problems, how we approach clients like Silverchair. We're going to talk about that. First, I'm going to let Rena talk a little bit about sort of Silverchair's problems to give you guys some context. For a couple minutes. Then I'm going to give you a presentation on what test-driven relevancy, sort of the philosophy behind it and why we're so passionate about it. And then we're going to switch to a demo for a product that we've actually created that gets at this problem pretty directly, lets you do a lot of query tuning before your search hits production. So, and then we're just going to have questions, and you guys feel free to come up to me and find me throughout the conference, and Rena and I, and we'll be happy to talk to you. So I'll let Rena talk a little bit about Silverchair, and then I'll talk to you guys about test-driven relevancy.
Great. Thank you, Doug, and thank you, everyone, for joining us for the first session today. Really appreciate it. As Doug mentioned, my name is Rena Morse. I work for Silverchair Information Systems. Silverchair is based in the United States, actually in Charlottesville, Virginia, for anyone who has any idea where that is. It's one of the leading independent product development partners to scholarly publishers, mainly in the scientific, technical, engineering, and medical fields, otherwise known as STEM. We actually began as a print production company, also doing editorial work, and over the years we've migrated our services to online digital products. So now we provide a top journal and content hosting platform, as well as management capabilities to help societies and other publishers build new digital products based on their existing print assets. Some of our clients include the American Medical Association, the American Psychiatric Association, the American Society for Mechanical Engineering, as well as some larger commercial publishing houses such as Wolters Kluwer and McGraw-Hill. I've personally been at Silverchair for about 10 years. My current position is Director of Semantics, which is a fun title. I act as product manager for the Semantic technology suite that underpins our platform, which includes an automated thesaurus-based classification and annotation system for all the content that comes through the platform, which drives major features and analytics tools for our clients. I also manage the team of indexers and taxonomists that utilize the semantic tools and help establish benchmarks and make sure that our tools are performing the way they should in different domains. So through this connection between the semantic markup and information retrieval on our platform and other products, I've been involved in most of the search projects at Silverchair. Previously, our search technology had been developed in-house. It was kind of a combination of Windows-based search services and custom development to implement the semantic layer into the search. However, we recently determined that our current solution wasn't as scalable as we liked and didn't offer us enough flexibility, especially to tune the full text portion of the engine based on different client document types, formats, and special requirements per project. So after doing some more market analysis, we decided to switch our primary search technology to Solr. So we called in a local, well-known Solr consulting company, OpenSource Connections, of which Doug is a member, to help us with this switch, and also to help us with some of our other exciting projects. We recently embarked on a project with them for a client, which involved developing very custom relevancy algorithms for a new product with a very targeted audience, and that's point-of-care physicians who are looking for immediate answers to clinical questions actually in the office. So heretofore, our methods for search tuning kind of really involved, it's very slow, involved a lot of upfront analysis, establishing these are going to be our desired relevancy parameters. And then, after doing full implementation, full building, then setting, some in-house people down and, running through the tests and saying, okay, is this working? Is this right? And then eventually, through several iterations, going to the client, who then would have their own set of feedback, sometimes based on actual end users' goals, sometimes their own goals. So among the kind of challenges that we faced migrating our current system to Solr was, how do we maintain our current relevancy in this translation? How, if we're going to implement new features that Solr offers, how do we kind of do that without disturbing too much of the ranking that already exists? And now that we have more flexibility to kind of fine-tune some specific specific functions of the full text portion, how do we really know or know better whether we've broken something or whether, a certain change is going to change other things in a way that, isn't too surprising? What's the cost-benefit ratio? And so we've had a lot of questions about this as we kind of embarked on this, solar project. So Doug is going to talk about how through this partnership, he and his team developed this new tool to help us test out a lot of our theories, to be able to make minor tweaks to the algorithm and gauge the impact downstream without actually having to deploy them first. This really allowed us to connect the semantic and content experts to the search algorithm without having to constantly involve the development team, who also kind of may or may not have domain knowledge or enough domain knowledge to help us kind of get to those answers right away. And what this led for us was to a new improved search testing experience at Silverchair with fewer full iterations, requiring constant deployment and intervention, and it led to a quicker launch time for us. So it's been really helpful. So with that, I think I'll pass it back to Doug, who will
Rena.
talk about our processes.
Yeah. So I just want to. What I'm going to do is basically get at what our search relevancy problems look like before we had Cupid. And I think this is what most people's search relevancy work looks like. It goes a little something like this. So Rena says, when doctors search for myocardial infarction, these heart attack top articles should come up. And I'm like, I don't even know what that means. I know solar. Show me a schema. And then she's indignant, and I'm like, okay, well, I'll get back to you in a week. I'll play around and see what I can do. So this is kind of the cycle, the pattern of a lot of the search relevancy work that happens. You've got Doug knows solar. I'm Doug. Rena knows her content. She has a fairly deep medical background or knowledge, maybe, and she's surrounded by content experts. I'm over here, and I can boost the number. I can search for bunnies and boost by the number of cat pictures and make lots of funny things happen. And then Rena's over here, and she knows what these things are: myocardial infarction, renal carcinoma, that kind of thing. So, and this isn't just, this split between content expert and search expert isn't just a thing in this medical field that Rena's in. It's in everything. We might have Bob here who knows his business. Bob knows sales conversions. He knows his customers. He knows that a weed trimmer is also a weed whacker. He knows that this specific brand of weed whacker, the supplier's giving him a really good deal, so he wants to boost on that. Or maybe he knows he's keeping track of what the margins are in his search index, and he has this knowledge of what he wants from his search that the solar person, they can create a relevancy algorithm, but they don't know how it works. So this is a universal pattern. So it takes two kinds of people for search to be useful: content experts, search experts. So how do the current, what is the current flow like? What happens? So let's get back to our example of me working with Rena. I get back to Rena a week later. Okay, hey Rena, I fixed that renal myocardial and whatever thing relevancy issue. I think it works great. Turns out, I broke like 5 other things. I had no idea because turns out I'm not a doctor. So I tuned something and a little bit, got that one query working really well, but I have no idea that I just broke like dozens of really important search queries. So she reiterates she's a paying client, and I go away for another week.
It's a little nicer than that.
But she's nicer than that. It's true. She's my straw man for this presentation. So I go back for I go back for a week, and I try to solve now maybe half a dozen problems, keeping them all in my mind and trying to test them all at the same time somehow. And this has been the template of basically every search relevancy issue that I've worked on. It's basically whether you've got a content expert armed with data, like these queries are important to my users because of this data, and you've got me, the solar expert, and there's a bifurcation. There's a sort of a bimodal distribution of knowledge. One group knows their topic, one group knows search, and you really can't get good search without both groups of expertise. So I think this is a problem. I mean, this like go away for the search expert, go away for a week, come back, show that you've maybe made progress or maybe you've broken everything. This is a pretty important problem. First of all, it points to a people problem. There's not really great ways for these two groups of people to work together, the people who know their content and the people who know how to use the technology. And it speaks to a technical problem. What happened here is search is you're almost always, when you change a relevancy parameter, you boost on something differently, you change some weights in the QF field, you are guaranteed to change almost a large percentage of your queries. That's just going to change. So you have, in sort of software testing parlance, it's very easy to have regressions where you're going backwards and you don't realize it. So people problem and technical problem being the regression issue. And so we have a pretty broken workflow. This is kind of, when I got into this field, this just felt really broken to me. It speaks of like me kind of siloed over here, a content expert siloed over there, and throwing emails back and forth over the wall and trying to get things right. It didn't work. It's just not working. And it turned out not to work with at Silverchair especially because they had extremely narrow and tight and hard relevancy requirements. So that kind of broke the camel's back for us. So we need the expert to test and tell us what's good and what's bad. And we need the search dev, obviously. I would like an army of Renas to sit in a room and tell me what search is good and bad, but that's not going to happen. So how have people solved similar problems in the past? One thing that I've used in previous jobs as a software developer is this sort of behavior-driven development. This topic's called test-driven development, but it's kind of more behavior-driven development, where the idea is that you, the technologist, are collaborating, writing tests with the non-technologist, sort of capturing requirements at a really low level. And what happens in that process is the non-technologist, in our case, it would be a content curator, really feels like they've contributed a lot to how the system's going to behave, because they've helped specify at very narrow levels what should happen in these corner cases. And the developer gets this spec that is way more detailed and better than they could have ever asked for, and a lot more meaningful than a 500-page Word document. It's a spec that's code, that's tests that need to pass, and you can sort of prioritize what needs to pass. So my point of view, and I've put an example just of some Java code that sort of implements that, but we don't really have to understand that to get the basic idea. My point of view is that collaborative testing is fundamental to search relevancy. Collaboration between me and Rena and me and whoever the content expert is really important, because like I said before, I don't define good search. The content expert really defines what's good and what's bad for the most part. And there's nothing really out there that helps people help facilitate this communication. There's nothing where we can sort of write sort of those kind of tests in a friendly way that lets non-technical people evaluate search quality. So, and we would like better ways to work together. I mean, the sort of siloing of you have the development department and maybe a business analyst or some content expert department, and the potential politics and whatever that can ensue. We need better ways to work together because we need to make progress on our search. And we really need to know what has changed. So collaboration is really essential for search because, like I said before, you can tweak relevancy parameters and you're basically going to change something. So here, hey, Rena, does this toe fungus query matter? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe we can tweak some knobs and figure out where's a happy medium between the thing I just fixed and that one I just sort of changed a little bit. And that's kind of where collaboration really comes into play when you're doing relevancy testing. So, hey, we have tests. We know it changed. I'm glad we have tests. So happy times. So what does this look like? Basically, we need something that, given query Y, myocardial infarction, we get the current list of what the search is telling us the search results are. And we need some way for the content experts to tell us what's good, what's bad, what's okay for that query for a given document. So is this document good for this query? Is this document bad for this query? So on and so forth. These are called, you guys may have heard the term judgment list. That's a information retrieval term that's basically a list of what is should be the search results for a given query. And right now, so right now we've got what we're searching for is sort of just a manual process that would get us really far just beyond what we have right now. And then we can, as we change relevancy parameters, as we change our boosts, we can observe how these quality metrics go up and down. So we can see, is it just changing fundamentally? Is the search results changing fundamentally that nothing is rated or they're all bad? Or are we getting to the point where things are actually making forward progress? So we built a tool, a product, that does this exact thing. It's called Cupid. And if you go to cupid.io, you can see a friendly landing page, my face and my phone number. My colleague, Eric Pugh, has this idea of software as a personalized service. So he thought it'd be, it's cool to put my phone number up there. So please call me, and I will help you with Cupid. And although not now because I'm in Ireland and the roaming fees would probably be pretty high. But so anyway, so now this is our favorite relevancy workbench. We use this basically and use this and our philosophy of test-driven development for all of our relevancy engagements. So yay, happy people. So that's a screenshot of Cupid. And I really believe that search quality is about collaboration. And what I mean by that is collaboration is all about testing. It's like a snake eating itself. It's a cycle. And so that's about it for introduction to Cupid. I'll break into a demo now. I thought just to get us started, I stayed up late last night and I indexed all of the speakers for today. So I thought I'd help you guys plan your day. So I'll go into Cupid and I'll add a case. So it starts us off with some bootstrap kind of stuff. And if I go through here and say, so go through here, create a case. And this is going to be a simpler demo than some of the stuff I've been talking about, just to get us started. So I know that I'm going to plop where my Solar is running. And I'm going to point at this this is kind of a one-time setup that you do and never do again. Pointing at a request handler, usually a select handler because it's pretty vanilla and you can do a lot of testing with it. And I'll throw in, let's see, what would title speakers. Put some fields that I want to display. And of course, these guys are meaningless queries for this topic. So let's see, test-driven relevancy. Hey, there's me. And there's the other relevancy topic today. So so great. So I can, if I wanted to put in titles of searches, if we start thinking about like how would we build a search for today's sessions, we can sort of think about, okay, what are the kind of things that people would search for? People would obviously search for titles of queries, so titles of sessions, so test-driven relevancy is one. What's another good title of a session today? Someone throw out a session they're going to go see besides this one. What's that? Storm? Okay. So we've got a query for Storm, got a query for test-driven relevancy. Let's say you wanted to look up just follow a specific speaker. So you wanted to type in, we wanted to support the ability to type people's names into search. So I'll just add my name. Hey, that doesn't work. So what I'm showing here is that this gray out just means there's no results. So this is kind of like the simplest way you can use this tool. It's just kind of as a fun sort of query relevancy workbench to play with these things. And we can see where we can make improvements. We don't need car tax. That's not going to be a topic here, I hope. And if we throw in a few more queries, Ingersoll, is it 2 L's or 1 L? That kind of thing. So okay, so let's think about how we're going to solve this problem. We've got Storm. This stuff works down here, and I'm measuring working by it returns results. Some people have different definitions of working. These guys are grayed out. They're not really returning any results. So sort of basic 101 search is let's search both the title. I have a title field and a speakers field. Let's come over here. This is going to just break out basically what's sent over the handler, the select handler that I just pasted down there. And let's put in some def type equal edismax and qf equal, and I'm going to screw this up at least once, title speakers. Okay. Hey, we solved something. So we can get a glance really quickly of that for this kind of class of queries, and these tend to, in my experience, queries, you look at something like this, you're like, how could you possibly test everything that a user is going to type? But queries tend to fall into specific kinds of problems that you've solved in a kind of way. So this is the problem of someone typing in the title or some part of a title. This is the problem of someone typing in someone's name. So we've solved that problem, and that's kind of a really basic introduction. I wanted to show you guys another place that this is useful, a more sort of common relevancy topic in e-commerce. Here I've got a grocery store that I've set up. There's some grocery store data that we have. And we've got some user queries that people will type, goat's milk, bottled water, milk, peas. And I've had a content expert come through and rate several of these. So we have an idea that peas we're doing really well at, that's 100%. Milk and bottled water we're not doing so hot at right now. Goat milk, so-so. So one of the things that we'll look at is, hey, a lot of these things just aren't rated. So what I have people like Rena do, or in this case the grocery store manager, is to come through and say, is goat milk yogurt something that people would want from a goat milk query? Maybe, probably not. They probably want this stuff like goat milk. So we'll give that like maybe a 5. And so low-fat goat milk, that's actually pretty good, and so on. Do a 10. We got some yogurt in here. We don't care about that. So on and so forth. So got some stuff here that we haven't rated. So we can start, as we build up, get a content expert to sit down and actually evaluate our search. We're starting to build up more intelligence about how we're doing. And so one thing that one relevancy problem that comes up a lot in e-commerce is some knob to tune the relevancy so that things that are more profitable show up higher in the list. And this is kind of an interesting relevancy topic because there's the user's point of view of what's relevant, and there's the sort of the person who's running the store's version of what's relevant. And we really need sort of a knob to tune for getting at that. So I might go through here, and you can see goat milk. At least the top result is milk. If I go over here, and let's say I've broken out the price, what the price is, the margin, profit, and I'm just listing the score for debugging purposes. So if I go through here and I boost on, let's make margin and let's just say times 10. And I have to turn on, I always screw this up, type edismax query and name, I think, are the fields. This little thing, this little magic variable, is just gets this search query pasted into to where it says $ or pound $ query pound pound. So I'll update this and we can see how things change. Okay, if someone, we're obviously boosting on profit because the margin is higher here. We are, there's like a rough sort by profit, which isn't so great. So I mean, yeah, we can go back to what we can do with this is we can go back to the grocery store manager and say, I boosted by profit. Let's look at this sort of search canvas that we've created, and let me show you where it might not work so well. So one thing I can do with this is I can go in and set up a basic algorithm for that grocery store manager themselves to sort of tune the knobs a little bit on. So obviously I'm not expecting a grocery store manager to come through here and know any of this stuff. But what I can do, and what we've done a little bit at Silverchair, is I can say, okay, I'm going to make this a variable, margin boost, just pound pound margin boost pound pound. And I'm going to wait maybe this field in QF. Let's just call that normal match. So what if I come over here, now instead of worrying about a relevancy algorithm, like a specific relevancy algorithm where I actually have to go tell a developer to go and do something, I can set up my grocery store manager something really basic that's like, okay, I've kind of generally got how this is going to work, but I need you to tune these knobs and look at the results and tell me what you want. So regardless of anything, just the ability to have lots of queries on a page, tweak knobs, and just see how the search results are before you ship it is extremely powerful, because from an e-commerce point of view, typically how this is, a lot of ways this is done is I'll just ship some search, collect some metrics, and see where searches are failing. Here we can just detect that before we even ship anything. So it's that test-driven sort of development mentality of constantly testing, constantly evaluating. So let's go back and let's actually submit this. Let's lower this to maybe 2. We can see it change off the bat. Did it get much different? I don't know. So what we can do is go back in our history and try. We have a history of all the things we've tried, and we can go back to this guy and see what has changed. So it doesn't look that different, but if we kept tuning this.
Is there a typo in your string developer? Could you go to the developer?
Do I have a typo?
I don't know, this special symbol.
Def type equal edismax.
Not this one, the latest one.
I might have a typo. This guy?
Yes.
This pound pound thing?
Yes, before pound.
QF equal query or name.
Query name, there's a symbol.
That's just a caret.
Okay.
So that's just weights in QF. Yeah, that's okay. What that does is,
First time it was appearing.
yeah. And I didn't want to get too crazy with either topic, because we could have dove into Rena's medical stuff and blown everyone's mind, or solar. So this is basically just saying in Dismax parlance, the name field, when you are choosing scores between name field and this query field, multiply the name field by whatever this variable is, normal match. So maybe we should boost the crap out of that. Let's just see what happens. Still roughly sorted on that. Let me get rid of this other guy. So, still fairly sorted on that. Oh, I'm boosting the wrong thing, aren't I? So you can see I'm even making margin even crazier. Okay. Still roughly the same. So regardless, this kind of gives you gives the developer and the content curator a really powerful way to work together. And it's proven for the product that we've worked at Silverchair, where we've had this very complex relevancy problem where there's basically a point of care doctor service needs to type in a question and get an answer with pure search, nothing else. That's proven, this kind of thing has proven invaluable. Rena, did you want to talk any more about how this tool has? Go to cupid.io. I can't promise it'll work on a phone because it was just put up yesterday, but go to cupid.io on your laptops. You can see my picture and get more information. So, okay, I appreciate everyone's time, and if you have more questions, come up and see us.
Yeah, I'll be around too for more questions.